Hi, Tracy Baker for Baker Gets Cooking. Today we are making oatmeal apple pie waffles. This is a terrific brunch, lunch, even supper dish, really. It happens to be gluten-free. It's really tasty and hearty, and the apple pie filling just kind of knocks it up a notch or two. This is a bit of a make-ahead because the batter has to sit for a while. So it actually is a really good do it the night before you need it, lunch dish or brunch dish. So that's what I like. So on Saturday night before I go to bed, I put it together in the blender, put it in the fridge, and then Sunday morning I can just make the waffles. So in the blender, I have a cup of oatmeal, and that's large flake oatmeal, a quarter cup of cornstarch, 3 tablespoons of sugar or sugar substitute. And today I'm using xylitol. Xylitol comes like this in a bag. It's granulated and it looks like sugar. It's derived from birch trees, so it's a natural type of sugar, kind of like maple syrup would be. And it has a low glycemic index, which means that you don't have a spike in your blood glucose like you do with regular table sugar. So it's good for diabetics and good for people that are watching their carbohydrate and their sugar intake. So today we're using xylitol. These are going to be a sugar-free or not processed sweetener recipe. So we put the xylitol in there. I have half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, a quarter teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs, a cup of buttermilk, vanilla, teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of canola oil. And I'm just going to blend that until the oats are pulverized. So it takes like a couple of minutes. I would just let it go. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so the oats are pulverized into very small bits, and now it needs to sit. It needs to sit, and the oats need to absorb that liquid. So you need to leave it for an hour or 2 hours. At room temperature would be fine, or any longer than that, just put it in your fridge. While that's resting and absorbing the liquid, we're going to make the apple pie topping. So in this pot, I have 4 medium apples chopped. I have a half a cup of water. I have about a quarter cup of honey. Now the sweetener can vary depending on the sweetness of your apples or your individual taste. So these apples are pretty sweet, they're galas, and I'm just going to put a quarter cup, and then I'm going to taste it at the end and see if I need to add a little bit more. But I think a quarter cup will be fine. And I have a half a teaspoon of cinnamon and about a quarter teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg. I'm going to bring that to a boil, reduce the temperature, cover it, and simmer it for about half an hour. Now, I want to simmer it on fairly low heat. I don't want to make applesauce here. I want to just soften the apples slightly, but still have a little bit of crunch to them. So to mimic the filling of apple pie. So we'll be back in half an hour. You can see what that looks like. So my apples have been simmering on the stove in the pot for about 20 minutes, and they have softened a little bit, but are still firm. There's still whole pieces of apple. I've got some liquid in the bottom that's nicely colored with my cinnamon and nutmeg. And now I'm going to thicken it up. So I have a teaspoon of cornstarch mixed with about a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of water, cold water. And I'm just going to stir that up. So that's called a slurry. And that's what's going to thicken. Now I'm not going to put the whole thing in. I'm just going to put in a little bit at a time, like about a teaspoon at a time. And I'm going to stir it while I do that. So I'm just going to put a little bit in, and I'm going to stir it up. Now the reason you don't put it all in is because depending on how much water your apples have, it will change the amount of liquid that you have total. So you don't want this to be a thick mass. You just want it to have kind of a nice syrupy consistency. You don't want it too thick. I'm going to go ahead and put just another teaspoon in there. Now, you do this on the heat because cornstarch is activated with heat, and when it boils, that's the maximum potential for thickness that it will have. And so you just want kind of a nice syrupy consistency. And that's perfect. So I'm going to take that off the heat and I'm going to let it cool to room temperature. And our oatmeal mixture is still sitting and it's absorbing the liquid. So we'll be back in about, when this has sat for an hour, we'll be back to make the waffles. Okay, my batter's been sitting for about an hour and it's thickened up. It's absorbed, the oats have absorbed the liquid. My waffle maker is preheating and the indicator light's telling me that it's okay to put the batter on now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now my waffle maker makes 4 waffles at a time. So you would follow the manufacturer's instructions. Now I'm going to put about 1/4 cup of the batter on each of the waffles. Close the lid and we'll let that cook. The green light's on, so my waffles are done. Let's see what they look like. Okay, let's get them onto the plate. Oh, they look lovely. They are so fluffy and delicate. Because you don't have any flour in that batter, there's nothing to develop any gluten, so they're just tender and they're a little bit crispy and they're lovely. So I'm going to go ahead and put 4 more on to cook. Now I'll show you how I like to serve my waffles. So I like to put some of that apple pie topping on the top, and it's nicely sweetened. You don't need any maple syrup or anything like that. And then I have some Greek yogurt here that I've added a little bit of maple syrup and a little bit of vanilla to. So it's like a vanilla maple syrup yogurt. So I like to put just a dollop of that on the top. And that is almost like apple pie and ice cream. Okay, let's give it a taste. It's delicious. I love this, and it is gluten-free, so I hope that can help some of you that are watching your gluten. Hope your family likes this as much as mine does. You can find the recipe on my blog, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.